Hello and welcome. In this video, I would like to discuss the topic of hypocrisy, double standards, do as I say, but not as I do, and rules for thee, but not for me. And to segue into this discussion, I want to bring up the fable of the boy who cried wolf. Most of us should already know what that is. You have a village and you have a young boy who got bored while tending the sheep, and one day he thought he'd entertain himself, give himself a little laugh, a little jolly joy, a little bit of giggle. He decided to play a prank on the rest of the village. In his boredom, he ran, towards the town or whatnot and started crying, "Wolf, wolf, there's a wolf, come and help." The whole village, whole town, they all, whoa, we got to do something. We're going to get the sheep. So they stop what they're doing, pick up their tools and their pickaxes, their hoes, their cooking utensils, clubs, rocks, whatever. Whole team takes up arm and goes to the pasture, and they're all looking around, and all they see is that boy. He's rolling around in the grass and he's laughing. Ha ha, there's no wolf. And we know how the story goes. The boy does this a few more times. The village shows up. Nice whistle. The village shows up more times and there's no wolf. Eventually the boy cries wolf and they don't show up anymore. Or should I say, the wolf actually does show up. And when the boy really does cry for the wolf, nobody shows up. And, well, we know how that story goes. For this conversation, I want you to imagine that there is another boy in another village. And this boy is a shepherd, or, he tends after the sheep. And one day a wolf shows up, and that boy cries wolf the very first time. No teasing, no pranking, right? But the village doesn't show up. Why is that? Well, somebody in that village heard from a friend of theirs from the other village that there was a boy going around crying wolf and making everybody angry. So that man returned to his village and he's like, hey, there's a village across the field, past the woods a little bit way across the river. There's a shepherd boy in that village and he's been pranking everyone, talking about wolf attack. And, well, that's probably going to make them less likely to believe when it happens anywhere else. That fable isn't just restricted to that one town. Maybe before the wolf really did show up, rumor spread, and by the time the wolf attack did happen, other places were completely ignoring any signs of warning. What am I talking about? Where am I going with this? Well, let's bring up not some music. Here we go. How often do we read, I want to say hear, but you don't hear text. I hope you don't. I need to get that checked out. But so many times we read and hear about people that have incurred some kind of punishment, some kind of online moderation. Oh, I was unjustly punished. It was unfair. The moderators are abusing their privilege. I didn't do anything wrong. And, your instinct would be, oh, something wrong happened. Your interest is piqued. It's perked. I want to look into this. And you may read the person's grievance and take it at face value, or maybe you look at their post history, check them out, see what kind of stuff they've been saying, and you look at their post history and you're like, my goodness, this person is aggressive. They are hostile and angry, and they say mean stuff. This person's punishment seems pretty justified when you look at it. A lot of the times, not every time, but most of the time I'd even say that. When you look at the evidence, or you peek into the forum and you see, well, what kind of post is this person making? It kind of speaks for itself. It's like, I'm not even a moderator, but yeah, I mean, I can clearly tell that's pretty aggressive behavior. You can't say in good faith that you didn't do anything wrong. However, that does not mean that there are not cases where moderators do not abuse their privileges, because it does happen. Just because one boy in one village cries wolf doesn't mean that wolf isn't going to show up, whistle, in another village. And a boy that never made that prank, well, he could suffer. So I'm just wanting to get this out there. Little bit of backstory on Stranded Deep. The co-op function is split screen. And it's not just split screen, it requires both players to own a PC controller. And it stipulates that one player has to use the keyboard and mouse, and the other player has to use the PC controller. Now, that's a pretty big issue by itself, but there's many issues within it. There's many bugs and glitches with the co-op. The split screen is horizontal, and it's not, it's vertical. You don't have the option for horizontal. Or is it the other way around? I don't know. I don't own a PC controller. I've never played co-op, but I've read grievances and complaints from many people, and many of the grievances are different. It's not like a whole bunch of people have one problem. Many people have many problems with the state and the way that the nature that the co-op is implemented. And there is a noticeable pattern of these posts appearing, and you can see this for yourself. Moderators will show up and they will basically dismiss the OP's concerns, and this dwells into arguments where these moderators argue, they move the goalpost. They state a fact, that fact gets argued and refuted, it's debunked. They move the goalpost and they start arguing semantics. And they do this in bad faith. And what I mean by that is they speak in a condescending, belittling manner, using angles of assuming, rather than giving useful information and advice and being helpful, they give you advice on the most basic of things that are obvious, and they let you know, hey, just in case you didn't know this, here's some very basic information. It's insulting, but it's not outwardly and blatantly offensive. But your mind knows. And we know about this because we do it ourselves. Everyone's guilty of this. Being passive aggressive, trolling somebody, antagonizing them, using polite words, but carefully choosing what words you use and the tone of your voice to where it's like, hey, I can't get in trouble for what I'm saying, but I'm aggravating the hell out of you. I'm tossing the piss, and you know it. So when we see it happening from others and to others, you can kind of pick up on that. You can recognize it. Loaded logic. And I've seen this happen. I'm not going to have 30,000 tabs up. I'm not going to go to every single topic and show you explicitly. I'm already nearing the 10-minute mark, and I'm not going to make an extra 3 or 4 videos just to make a half-hour demonstration. If you'd like to see, go to the Stranded Deep general discussion forums on Steam, and as far back as you're willing to look, the more pages you're willing to look back into it, the more each month that you go back, each month is filled with like dozens and dozens of posts. You can go back to last year if you want. The more evidence you want to see, that's as willing as you can look back. It's all there. You can go and you can find these very same threads where these very same issues are brought up, and you can read it for yourself, and you can read the moderator's responses for yourself. So having set that up, I'm going to segue into part 2.